August is Tradies National Health Month, raising awareness of the health and injury risks affecting those who work in a trade, the tradies themselves, their families, employers and the wider community. Stats show almost 3 in 5 serious workplace injuries involve a tradie, despite making up only 35% of the workforce. Tradies' health must be everyone's priority. And joining us is Anton, a safety leadership expert. Thanks, Anton.
Hey Kim, how are you?
Yeah, really well. Look, we know some tradie jobs, whether you're a chippy or a crane driver or a sparky, they are dangerous jobs. Do the dangers of those jobs and jobs like those reflect in statistics?
Oh, absolutely, unfortunately. And I think and that was a great intro, when we talk about the types of injuries and how many of our tradies are injured. Some research done by the Australian Physio Association back in 2017, get this will blow your mind. 60% of tradies often have aches and pains that they're walking around with and working with on a daily basis. So for every 10 tradies out there, 6 of them are actually injured at the moment as we speak, walking around working with probably a temporary injury, but some of those would be long-term too, right? So some of them would be what we call chronic or lifelong, that they just work through, that they just adapt to, that they just cope with. So it's a staggering stat to say that 6 out of 10 of the people that come and repair our houses, or fix our lights, or whatever it is, they'll fix our toilets, whatever they do, 6 out of 10 of those humans are carrying an injury.
And half the time we get them because we either can't do the job ourselves or it's too dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm an old electrician myself, and you'd know my story, Kim. So I was blown up in a switchboard as a young tradesperson. So I was one of those tradies that got really badly injured at work. And our trades are dangerous work environments, especially electrical. But it's not like all of the trades have their own hazards associated with them. And like you said, I love the crane driver one. So there are a whole lot of people that are fatally or seriously injured in Australian workplaces each year due to dropped objects, for example, or lifting, which is crane driving, or loads that have shifted or moved or dropped. And so even fall from heights is a major killer of in Australian workplaces. And so absolutely our trades are, you would say, those workers that are out there doing trades are probably the most highly exposed to risk and safety related issues in the workplaces in Australia.
Well, Anton, you can't say that as a young tradie you were blown up and not share the story with our listeners.
Oh yeah, no worries. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, no, I did something really silly, and I was working as a 21-year-old, and I stuck, well, I stuck a steel ruler on a switchboard, which
Ooh,
is, oh, I know, right? Oh, I know. And we should know better. Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. And so why is it that, well, I wouldn't say that I'm smart, but why do sensible people do silly things that could put themselves in harm's way and end up a couple of months off work and a month in the burns unit getting all their skin peeled off, which is sort of
Wow.
what's happened to me.
You were so lucky because I've had
Mm,
friends who've had partners electrocuted, and in one case it was
mm.
fatal.
And you're right. The amount of times I heard that word, Kim, lucky, is crazy. And over all the years, it still keeps coming up. And I was really, really lucky. People that have since or previously did what I did don't get away with their life like I did. So, I'm lucky to be around to tell the story. I share this story, very specifically so that hopefully it happened to me, it might happen to you, is the message that I want to share with tradespeople out there to say, hey, please be careful, you're in risky jobs. We know that already this year in Australian workplaces, we've had, in the construction industry, we've had 9 fatalities this year already, just in construction, 6 in manufacturing, 5 in the agriculture industry. And so, overall in Australia this year, we've already had 60 fatalities. And that's a positive story. We were this time last year, we were 112. So we're sort of half of what we were last year. But
Yeah, but let's look
yeah,
at the last 18 months.
mm,
I mean, I know in Sydney, I think there's some construction has resumed, but and
mm,
some renovation, but a lot of the time last year, and certainly for some of those interstate states, they haven't
mm.
been able to work.
Good call. No, that's exactly right. And see, last year, So let's say COVID started in March last year. We had from March to December, and you know the sad part?
What?
Injury and fatality rates didn't come down last year. They're exactly the same as the year before. Isn't that crazy?
That is
So no one,
crazy.
no one was at work, and we still had the same injury rates and incident rates and fatality rates last year, calendar year, as the year before, 183 versus 182 the year before. So yeah, I know it's bizarre, eh? And this year you'd think they'd come down, which we have. We've finally seen them come down this year, which is great news.
So, what's the mental health fallout around those injuries?
Mm,
Obviously, we know for families and
mm.
employers. Um, yeah, walk us through that.
Wow. So there's been some great research done over time, and Mates in Construction did a great report in about 2013 where they unpacked what the most riskiest jobs, industries were for suicide, and guess what came out? It wasn't so much tradies, it was construction, right? Where a lot of tradies are based in the construction industry. And so there was something like 9,600 um, suicides during that 13 years. And when you have a look at the stats, there was 2,500 of those were in the construction industry. So a quarter of all suicides, you could say either construction or tradies. And, you know, that's a massive stat. And I'm going to tell you from my own personal perspective again, why some of those would occur is that workplace injuries, like for me, I spent 10 years, Kim, not talking about this thing, right? So you might say that it was PTSD if that was what you
Yeah,
would call it. Um, you know, when you've had a bad workplace injury, it mentally knocks you around, and we heal physically, we don't heal mentally. And there's tradies out there that are suffering through what happened to them a long time ago or even recently. They're worried about their work. They're worried about their family. They're worried about providing. They're worried about how they look to other tradies. They're worried about what their boss thinks, you know, and this stuff just compounds and compounds and compounds. And all of a sudden, you know, in that 13-year period from 2001 to 2013 with that Mates in Construction report, we have 2,500 suicides just in the construction industry, right? Because people are just so mentally um, struggling with not just workplace fatalities, but every, you know, life. We
life in
know that.
general. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have
we just know. Mm.
Do you have any stats rather relating to this state, to Tasmanian tradies?
Yes, well, the good news was, so if I look at the results here, the good news was that Tassie were the second lowest in the construction suicide rate in that period. So the Mates in Construction report. So it was called, for any of your listeners that want to go and Google this, the MIC Annual Suicide Report, MIC and Deakin University report. 82 construction suicides during the period of the study. And the only one lower in Australia was, oh, sorry, ACT and the Northern Territory were both lower than Tassie. Um, and and the during that period, what the stats did show is that the suicide rate was coming down, Kim. So I always look for a positive. What's the silver lining? Yes, Tassie was lowest. ACT and NT were also low. At the end of the day, construction suicides were reducing over that period. So that's probably a pretty good thing to remember. And let's keep that energy up. And let's hope that, you know, the last 5 years, because mental health has become it's sort of it's become okay now to talk about. I believe, yes, it's still a bit taboo though. I really think that we've sort of turned a corner as a society where we can actually have you and I can now have a conversation about this and say this is the numbers.
Totally.
Let's do something about it.
Well, we should mention Lifeline if you are struggling,
Mm-hmm.
13 114 or Beyond Blue 1300 224 636. Just before we go to news headlines, which trades have the most injuries?
Oh, so let me just have another quick look here. Usually it is it's hard to determine, Kim, from the results in all seriousness, because they're grouped up under industries themselves, like construction or, you know, warehousing. What we know is the areas that have the most fatalities or the industries are the transport. So if you said that truckies were a trade, that's where probably most of your injuries are happening. Or even in warehousing, so forklift injuries, you know, like anyone that works around mobile equipment, Kim, is at risk every single day. It only takes you not to look. Construction is the next one, and manufacturing is the next one. So manufacturing workplaces are the third highest risk on the list, closely followed by the agriculture, forestry and fishing industries.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are heading home or probably still on the work site where this chat has resonated with them. Anton, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me, Kim. Thanks for talking about these great issues. Good on you.
Not
Good
a
on the ABC.
problem. Not a problem. Anton Guinea, safety leadership expert there.